Today, with an infection spreading across the planet that causes those who are infected to disappear, an alien fog will cast Hunter forward nearly 3 decades into the future, where hopefully he will be the saviour that humanity needs. This is The Fog Within, issues 1 to 3. Hello there, Comic Clan, and welcome to Comics in the Cross, the greatest YouTubers that you've never heard of. I, of course, am your host for today, Cross, and Happy New Year! We had an amazing holiday break. I hope you did as well. I hope you had a great winter break. I hope you had a great holiday season and enjoyed your holidays, whether you celebrated Christmas or Hanukkah or any other celebration. I hope you had an amazing time. We had a great break, a great rest, but we are super excited to be back for 2025. And I'm super excited to be back checking out some more comics with all of you this year. Thank you. I want to say a big thank you to all of you that helped make 2024 the biggest and best year for Comics in the Cross yet. Across all of our social media, all of our YouTube channels, on our Twitch channel, you have helped us grow, helped us get bigger, helped us do what we love doing, and I can't thank you enough for joining us on this journey, for helping support us through 2024, and we are super excited for jumping into 2025 with you all. One thing that I did do near the end of 2024 was I did back a number of Kickstarters. There was a lot of comic Kickstarters, and there's a lot that are kind of not great, but there was a bunch that caught my eye at the end of last year, and I backed quite a few of them, to the point of like, now at the start of the year we are getting a few of them in, and I thought, what better way to kick off 2025 than by checking out one of those Kickstarters. The first one that came in, I've got The Fog Within, and this is issues 1 to 3. They're all packed together, and the one thing, I don't want to open them up because I am keeping them for my collection. Yes, I am one of those comic collectors, but I have the digital copies that I have read through, and you can see the cover for issue 3 up on screen right now. I backed The Fog Within. I checked this one out, and it definitely caught my eye. It's very much a kind of sci-fi-esque story, which you should all know at this point is definitely my deal. I love sci-fi stuff, and I felt that I really wanted to check this one out, so I thought, what better way to kick off the new year than with this. And we'll of course be reviewing all of the others that have came in. Others have started to come in digitally and physically, so throughout the next few months we will be covering a number of those. But for the moment, you can click on the card, I'll put it up in the corner there, and you can check out any of the Kickstarters that we have covered already. I have covered one previous one on the channel when we looked at Monkey, so that and The Fog Within will both be in there, and it'll also be the playlist where I will stick all of the others as we review them. But this is something that I'm excited for. This is one of the big things I wanted to do with the channel, was to review indie comics and check out indie comics. Not just smaller publishers that are out there that are getting in stores, although they are putting out some amazing stuff, but to find the best that are out there that are coming straight from phenomenal creators. Stuff that I wouldn't typically pick up, stuff that I haven't looked at before, stuff that wouldn't catch my eye because you don't just find it on a comic book store shelf. So that is what I'm excited for us to be doing today. Before we get into it, let's do all the YouTubey stuff. Make sure that you go ahead and hit that subscribe button down below so that you don't miss out on anything from us. Click that like button to help support the channel, and leave a comment down below. What sort of stuff would you like to see us cover here? What did you think of our coverage of The Fog Within as we go through it? And is there any Kickstarters that we should be checking out, or any Kickstarter comments that you're like, you guys need to get a hand on this? This is going to be something worth talking about. Let us know down below. Alright, YouTube stuff all out the road. Let's get ready and let's jump in. This is The Fog Within, issues 1 through 3. The Fog Within, numbers 1 through 3, are written by Sean Wood. All pencil work is provided by Deon, who also done the inking for issues 2 and 3. Inking for issue 1 comes from A3 Deco, Sandro, Ribeiro and Dart. Some of these I believe are artist names, and apologies if I am mispronouncing any of those. Colouring for all 3 issues is provided by Josh Rodriguez, and lettering is done by Lettersquids. Our story begins in the city of Brooks. A portal opens on a dishevelled and run-down looking main street, and we see a young man, Hunter, falling through a portal and landing hard on the ground. As he tries to get his bearings, he is grabbed and pulled into an alleyway, and just in the nick of time too, as an armed squad of robots known as the Swarm pass by. Hunter's unexpected saviour and the narrator of the first half of issue 1 is Cole, the head of a team here to retrieve Hunter. They were led here thanks to a prophecy. Cole's team think that Hunter may be the one they have been waiting for, and will help turn the tide in their ongoing battle with Schism. Cole contacts his team, who are stationed around a busy street market not too far from his location. He tells them that he has retrieved the package, but they don't have an exit. The Swarm are making their way into the market, and Cole's teammate Alpha says that they're too close to him to do anything. Thankfully, another team member, Epsilon, is positioned on a nearby roof, and she takes a shot that takes out one of the Swarm drones. This does have repercussions, however, as a Swarm gunship heads straight for the roof that Epsilon is on and begins to fire on her. But instead of running for cover, Epsilon is almost indignant that they would dare to attack her, and she charges them head on, leaps on top of the aircraft and slices through the roof, causing it to crash into a nearby building. Epsilon then catches up with Alpha, who pulls out his rifle and begins to unload on the Swarm. He then activates a field around his fists and begins to lay waste to some of the Swarm drones, but he soon finds himself surrounded. As the Swarm fire on him, he is protected by an energy shield provided by another team member, Zeta. Zeta uses a robotic drone to lock onto the remaining Swarm drones and destroys them with its missiles, all while mouthing off how many times he's had to save Alpha without so much as a thank you, just some Neanderthal grunts from him. As his team deals with the Swarm, Cole helps Hunter make his way to his car in hopes of getting him past the safe zone, and is worried that they might think that Hunter is infected. The strain of the journey through the portal takes its toll on Hunter, and he passes out on his way to the car. And as he passes out, we see his mind drifting back over the life that he left behind. His mind drifts back on happy memories, such as barbecuing with his parents, taking first place at the science fair, his high school valedictorian speech, and, of course, the first time he met Madison, the girl who would one day become his wife. His mind also remembers some of the not-so-happy memories, like when he tried to step in and stop classmates Damon and Vasily from graffitiing a wall, and it almost got him a beating, or an accident that took place at the Brooks Research Facility. Some of these events feel like they'll be a bit more significant than others, and I can't wait to see if any of these events have an effect on Hunter or on the story going forward, and how exactly they factor in. From his memories, Hunter is stirred back to the land of the waking by Cole. After being able to rest, Hunter is finally able to ask what in the world is going on. And we find out that Hunter left 26 years ago, right after the world went to hell. Cole says he's just grateful the searching is over, and that they can now finally take the fight back to them. Hunter is still as confused as ever, asking who exactly Cole is and how does he know all of this. Cole tells him that he'll understand everything in time. We get a little bit more lore as Hunter says everything looks just like it did after the Day of Sorrow, and wonders what happened to the government rebuilding everything. Cole tells him that shortly after Hunter disappeared, adults started showing signs of infection after the nuclear blast that rocked Brooks. That instead of rebuilding, the government washed their hands of everything and built a wall to keep them all in. Since then, schism has ruled with an iron fist. With most of the adult population gone, the people that have been left have only known hopelessness, and as a result they have been searching desperately for the Great Mist from the prophecy, and it looks like Hunter is the answer to their search. As they arrive at the Resistance headquarters, we re-meet Cole's team: Sharpshooter Epsilon, Hot-Headed Alpha, Tech Genius Zeta, and their leader, Alexei. Hunter is given the tour and sees that this is a massive operation with a massive team of people running it. Following the tour, Hunter is debriefed on what he knows, but reveals that he doesn't really have any idea what the fog is or how it works. All he knows is that one moment he was in the past, and now he's here. This revelation sets off Alpha. He is furious. He says that the Resistance has been working towards finding the Mist, and he's meant to know how to defeat Schism. He's meant to be their saviour. Hunter apologises and says that he never asked for any of this, but Alpha keeps pushing him, and as the tension starts to build inside of him, Hunter yells at him to back off while unleashing a blast of the Mist. This blast launches Alpha across the room and into one of the pillars. Some of the team are in shock at this manifestation of his power. Others are laughing at Alpha being taken down a peg, but Cole steps in to calm things down. Then out the corner of his eye, Hunter spots the symbol of Schism, and as soon as he sees it, he knows who their leader is. Issue 1 comes to a close with the reveal of Damon as the leader of Schism, with his old friend Vasily as his right-hand man and Hunter's wife Madison at his side. He uses his abilities to torture the creator of the swarm and tells him they have failed for the last time. Issue 2 picks up right where Issue 1 left off. We are at the Schism stronghold, and Madison intervenes on behalf of the creator of the swarm, telling Damon that he could still be useful to them. Damon decides to release him long enough to hear what Madison has to say. From here we jump back 26 years and see Hunter and Madison very early in their marriage. In fact, they reference having just gotten back from their honeymoon. They are arriving back home with groceries in hand to make dinner for Hunter's parents who are visiting them for the evening. Hunter's dad calls to update that traffic is awful and they're still stuck in Brooks. But as Hunter is talking to him, something rockets through the air and falls to the ground, causing the call to disconnect. Before Hunter can even question what's happening, a massive explosion goes off in Brooks. As people run for their lives, something unusual is blasted into the air. Hunter wakes up back in the present. It's been 3 days since his jump, and he's feeling the pressure of a whole society looking to him, looking like he's some sort of saviour. He will have to earn their faith, and the first step is becoming the Great Mist that they all expect him to be. He has to gain control over his powers to do this though. Thankfully, Zeta has made him a new tech suit to help hone his abilities and allow him to do just that. Hunter goes to the training room to put the new suit to the test and finds Alexei and Epsilon are in the middle of a training session with a group of robotic drones, reminiscent of the swarm. He watches as they dispatch with the remaining enemies, and then it's his turn to step up. Hunter begins to try and tap into the power that's inside of him, but he isn't able to sustain it. The truth is, he doesn't actually know what he's doing and what the power is and how to actually activate it. Maybe if he knew more about it and understood it a little better, he'd know the best way to use it. Epsilon tells him to ask any question he wants while they're training, and she'll try to tell him what he wants to know. Hunter wants to know how they were able to find him, and Epsilon tells him that Anya is the one that told them all about him. Anya is a survivor of the blast from 26 years ago, and since that day all she has talked about is the prophecy. Her words led them to the place of his arrival, just not the exact time. Eventually she started chanting the prophecy over and over again until it drove her mad. Hunter asks if he can have a chance to meet with her, and Epsilon says that Alexei can take him there, as she believes he's earned that meeting. As the training continues, an alarm starts to blare. A number of swarm units have begun looking for rebel supporters under the guise of an infection raid. Cole sends Epsilon and Zeta along with the weaponsmith Brody to handle the situation. As they make their way there, Cole advises that the swarm are putting a blockade of civilians around them. With a show of force thus strong, they believe that it's likely a trap. But why now? Epsilon and Brody arrive at the location where the swarm are already starting to round up supposed defectors for rehabilitation. As the people prepare to push back against the swarm, one of the swarm units spots Epsilon and Brody, causing them to take action. Epsilon jumps in with her blade, cutting through swarm drones and even having to save guards, one of which she instructs to make sure the civilians get out of the area. Brody proves he is more than capable in the field too, not only taking out some of the drones but also gunning down one of the air support ships. Epsilon steals a car and they lead the rest of the air support out of the city and directly towards Zeta. He's waiting to implement his new toy, the Crowd Stopper, which uses a high-powered auditory blast to blow the ships right out of the air. Back at the Resistance headquarters, Hunter is training with Cole and Alexei. He's starting to gain a little bit more of an understanding of his powers. He says he can feel the power changing, almost like it's trying to communicate with him. Epsilon radios in to update Cole on what went down, when all of a sudden a massive infected humanoid jumps on Zeta's back and stomps him out of the sky. Before the others can react, a van being driven by more infected humanoids, calling themselves the Reckoning, smash into the side of their car. Epsilon and Brody are taken by the Reckoning, while Zeta is left for dead. They are taken to a nearby lab by the infected humanoids, one that seems to have a lot of swarm guards around it. The doctor says he can't let their talents go to waste, and with proper training, they'll be some of their best. Epsilon states that she would never work with them again, but the doctor informs her they don't really get to have a say in the matter. They are taken into a part operating room, part assembly line looking place. And the issue comes to a close with us discovering the truth about the rehabilitation facilities. That they are the place where infected and unwanted humans are taken and transformed into swarm drones. And now the doctor wants to see what happens to two trained and healthy people and what they will become. This brings us to issue 3, the latest issue in the series so far. This issue begins at the Resistance headquarters, and Hunter wants to finally meet with Anya, the woman that has had the prophecy about him and the Great Mist. Alexei takes him in but warns him that she might not respond to him, or even be coherent. As they enter, she is still speaking the prophecy's words to herself over and over, not even seeming to be aware of them entering the room or speaking to them. That is until Hunter places his hand on her shoulder. She stands to her feet and an entity made of the same fog that inhabits Hunter leaves her body and begins to approach him, saying it has begun. Our race has long awaited this day. As Alexei tries to make sense of what is happening, the fog says we need another to survive. Let me show you, as it bonds to Hunter. The fog tells Hunter that they are a race known as the Sentient. They ruled the galaxy in harmony and distributed resources across the cosmos, and in doing so they kept unity amongst everyone. However, a faction of the Sentient, calling themselves Schism, thought that they were above everyone else, and as a result, war broke out. The war destroyed everything the Sentient knew and loved, but Schism escaped to find new hosts, and in doing so, found a great energy source flowing from within planet Earth. And as the Schism made their way here, the Sentient followed. Schism arrived and began to force their symbiosis on the higher beings of the planet. But as a result of that harsh meshing of beings, most of these pairings were rejected. The Sentient were not as forceful, but implanted themselves more surgically, and in choosing this manner of bonding, they found their champion in Hunter. The Sentient tell Hunter that he must find and stop Schism before they find the power and unleash an evil unlike anything that has been seen before. As the Sentient preps Hunter, Anya says that she can finally rest. She thanks Hunter for coming and collapses onto the floor, dead. We then cut to the Schism stronghold and the swarm assimilation room. Brody finally wakes up and tries to get his bearings with the situation that they are in, but is totally freaking out. Epsilon is coping by trying to joke around, but that is just making things worse for Brody. He yells at her to cut the crap out, as he knows that she's scared too. She says that he knows her so well, and their future could have been so bright together. Before they can talk further, Damon enters the room, along with the doctor behind the swarm. They ask what he's doing to the people, and he states he is giving them a purpose beyond themselves. Epsilon can't believe that he would turn his back on people, and asks how he could do that. The doctor states that if they knew what lay below, what was beneath the stronghold, they wouldn't question what they are doing. Damon says that they are now the first step in humanity's salvation, and that they will understand when they become part of the hive mind. Then they begin the process of transforming Epsilon, and tell Brody not to worry, as he will be next. Meanwhile, Hunter gets used to having a symbiotic partner in the Sentient, who he can now communicate with and see. Alexei mourns the death of Anya, and still doesn't totally understand what's happening. The Sentient tells Hunter that Anya could only sustain a sentient within her being for a short time. Hunter asks what makes him so special that he can withstand it. How can he survive being a host? And the Sentient tells him that in time, he will begin to understand. Alexei becomes angered that all these years Anya was a little more than a pawn in the Sentient's plan, stating that her prophecies and words gave people hope and were supposed to lead to victory. He says that he has to talk to Cole, as people have a right to know the full scope of what is happening, and that the fog is an alien race. Hunter says he will go with him, but Alexei says he isn't going anywhere, as he doesn't know if he's involved in what's happening yet. While all this is happening, Cole contacts them both to tell them that they are needed and have lost contact with the team in the field. Alexei says he is on the way, but Hunter is busy with something at the moment. Hunter tries to convince Alexei to let him come, as this is what he has been training for. Alexei, still distraught over Anya, tells Hunter he is not ready, but the sentient tells him that they have lost too much time already and only Hunter can save them. As the power builds up in Hunter, the sentient trips Alexei. He pulls a gun on Hunter, and the sentient then says that he's going to try and stop us, and unleashes a blast of power that disintegrates most of Alexei's body, leaving nothing but a skeleton. Hunter is distraught at what has happened, telling the sentient that Alexei was a friend. He doesn't think he can stay with the resistance now. There's no way that they'll understand what happened. The sentient, however, couldn't care less. It doesn't care about Hunter's emotional and mental trauma right now, telling him that the mission is all that matters. Hunter escapes the facility by making his way to the garage and stealing one of the motorcycles there. He and the sentient continue their conversation on the journey to the Schism stronghold. Hunter processes his emotions of the sentient being responsible for him being brought forward 26 years into the future, and for him losing his wife and his family. Now he started to belong somewhere new and is losing people all over again. The sentient is sole focused on the mission at hand, and tells Hunter to snap out of it, as they were meant to save this world, and they need to stop Damon before he unleashes a greater evil. Hunter arrives at the Schism facility. He is met with a number of swarm guards, but with the new power from the sentient, he is able to deflect any of their attacks and attack in kind with the fog itself. He enters the building, and he and Damon come face to face for the first time in nearly 30 years. Hunter tells him what he is doing is madness, but Damon says any right he had to criticise was left in the past when he disappeared, and that he is on the wrong side of this war. That he is the one that is in charge and controls the narrative, not Hunter, and Hunter says he has no choice but to try and stop him. At the Resistance headquarters, Cole and Alpha find the body of Anya and the remains of Alexei. They also track Hunter to the missing bike in the garage. They don't know what happened, but know they are short on time to get their people. Around this time, Zeta's AI and his tech is able to wake him up, and he finds himself beaten and alone in the desert. The AI tracks his teammates to the Schism facility. And the third issue comes to a close, with Cole, Alpha and Zeta all closing in on Schism in an attempt to rescue Epsilon and Brody, while Hunter faces off with Damon. Ooh, that was a lot to get through. Thank you for sticking with me through that. I know that was a long coverage, but I wanted to go through the 3 issues. And in all honesty, the 3 issues were absolutely packed full of content. They really were. Sean Wood and the team absolutely took advantage of these 3 issues to really tell their story well. I'll be honest, it was only going back and reading through it that I really started to pick up on certain things. Like when I read it through the first time, reading through the first issue, I didn't get a lot of the hints at stuff that was in the story, the setup for parts of the story. I thought it was all summed up at the start of issue 2 in the little blurb at the beginning, and thought, oh, it'd be nice to know some of this stuff in the first issue. And the honest truth is, it was there. I just completely hadn't picked up on it. I must have read it and zoned right out and went right over the top of it. But going back and looking through it, and really getting to dissect this story, I've really enjoyed the journey that it's taken. Because the thing is, when you do this for so long, when you start reviewing comics and in-depth looking at them, it can become easy to nitpick little things, stuff that you see, tropes that you pick up on it. But when you actually step back and just enjoy a comic, it can be really enlightening to go back and look at it through that lens. Because I'll be honest, I enjoyed the story, but I wasn't taken with it at first. Not as much as I thought I was going to be. But that's nothing to do with the creative team. That was completely to do with the way I was perceiving the comic. I was over-analysing and not taking the story for what it was in front of me. And when I went back and read it and just kind of took my time and enjoyed the story, I could not be happier to have backed The Fog Within. I cannot be happier to have picked this up and to be kicking off 2025 with this series. And I'm super excited the fact that issue 4 is coming to Kickstarter this summer. And we will 100% be backing it, and definitely look out for our socials, because we'll definitely be plugging it on our socials when it comes out. I've very much enjoyed the story. I am hoping, we've been getting teased little bits and pieces, and I'm really hoping that soon we'll get a lot more of what happened. Because we've got the story that's happening now and hints at the past, and I'm super excited to see how the past fully connects. Like, I'm honestly, I want to know why the bomb was dropped, the effect the bomb was dropped. What was this disease people were getting? Why were people disappearing? Were people disappearing because they're getting pulled through time like Hunter was? Has something happened where it's like they're all going to just show up at some point? Why was Hunter picked by the Sentient? Why was he pulled through time by the Sentient? Why is he the chosen one that can handle it? Because a lot of the stuff is like, we'll figure it out in time, and I'm like, I'm really intrigued for these answers. I also am really intrigued to see what happens with Schism. Like, I've watched so many things where there are twists on who the villain and who the hero is, that I'm half expecting Schism to be good guys and half expecting the Sentient to be this evil kind of entity that's actually trying to like take over the world or something. Like, my mind keeps racing with that sort of stuff. But overall, I thoroughly enjoyed this. Sean Wood's writing I really enjoyed. It was really engaging. It really kept me connected with the story. I really enjoyed the way it was going. Early on, there was like little bits of dialogue and little bits where I was lost. But I think it was one of these cases where I think it definitely helped having the other issues to read. So as much as I loved it picking it up issue by issue, it might be better to pick it up in one go, or like with issue 4 coming out in the summer, it may be a good idea to jump on that Kickstarter and grab the bundle so that you can get all of the issues. Just because as a complete story, I think it hits differently. Like, I could see myself having read issue 1 and being confused. But when I'm getting the whole story and I'm getting more information, it's definitely, it fits better together and explains itself better, which isn't a bad thing. Some stories work from week to week and, or month to month when you're getting one issue at a time. Some stories work better when you can sit down with like the first trade paperback and sit and read through it, and that's not a bad thing. That's my preferred way of reading. I like getting a whole story arc and going through that whole story arc. I really prefer. You can see all my trades behind me. Like, I prefer that. I collect single issues, but I really prefer getting trades for a whole story. And that comes from me just when I was younger, only getting issues here and there and being like, what the hell's going on? I don't have a story here, I've got a bit of it and I don't know what's happening. So I definitely don't think that that's a bad thing. It's just, maybe it's just a writing style that's better for him. Maybe it's just a story. But overall, it's definitely not a bad thing. The artwork in it, I really enjoyed. David Deon, and if I'm mispronouncing that, please let me know, but I believe I'm saying it correctly, I hope. His pencil work is amazing. There are a couple of panels throughout the 3 issues, and I mean like a couple throughout the 3, like where I've looked at and went, oh, that's a little bit rougher than everything else. But overall, the art in this has been stunning. This is the artwork you want from a comic that you're getting on Kickstarter. I have seen so many projects on Kickstarter where it's clear that they're brand new to this, and it's like you could really do with just tightening things up. But Deon's work is absolutely amazing. I think it's perfect for the story. I think it's perfect for displaying stuff. There's not anything where I'm left like, what's going on, what's happening, I wish they'd done a different thing with this. It's really well done. And between his and all the inkers, you can see all their names on the screen there. I don't want to try and say all the inkers again because some of them use names. Like the first one, A3 Deco I called them, and I don't know if that's correct. But Sandro, Ribeiro and Dart, I believe, are the other two. Like, them along with Deon are phenomenal inking on this as well. It looks absolutely great, and then Josh Rodriguez's colours are perfect for it. I love the effect of the fog. I love the effect. Like, the cover that's on there right now caught my eye and made me want to go to Kickstarter and see what the hell this was. It was absolutely brilliant. And I want to do something I don't usually do, which is shout out the letters as well, because Lettersquids has done a phenomenal job of lettering, because the lettering is typical. You know, like I said, if really good lettering happens, you usually don't notice it because you're so immersed. But the way that the sentient speak through the kind of fog is done as lettering, like fog styled lettering, and it is very cool done. But at the same time, it doesn't break you out of it. It isn't hard to read. It's perfect for it. And I think this team really came well together to put together an amazing comic. This is definitely a fun one. This is definitely a great sci-fi story. You know, with the sentient and Schism being aliens coming to the planet. Their planet having been destroyed and basically looking for new hosts. They need to be symbiotic to survive, which, thanks to growing up watching Spider-Man and Venom stuff, I'm a sucker for symbiote stories. So I'm definitely suckered in by that. But overall, this was really enjoyable, and I highly recommend picking it up. I highly recommend checking out The Fog Within. And like I said, on Kickstarter, it will be dropping in summer. I believe they said it was June or July 2025. So make sure to go and check this out. But yeah, this has definitely hyped me up for checking out more Kickstarter comics. And like I said, we definitely have more coming to the channel. We have a lot more going to happen. I already have a couple that are in, so I'll definitely be probably trying to do one a month is my goal. I will be trying to do one a month on the channel at least. Hopefully I'll be able to keep that up. But thank you so much for hanging out with us. I know this is a longer video, I know there's a lot to it, but one is covering 3 issues when at most before I've covered 2. So it's definitely longer as a result of that. Not to mention, I think I'm just excited to be back and recording, and I hope this went well for the recording of it, and a few weeks rusty. But thank you so much for hanging out with us today. Excuse me. We greatly appreciate all the support and all the love that we got for 2024. And if you're coming back for 2025, or you're here for the first time in 2025, thank you for hanging out with us. We greatly appreciate it. Remember, if you want to support the channel, you can go check out our Patreon, link is down below, where you get early access to the videos from not only here, but also our other YouTube channels, as well as exclusive content. And we will see you all next week. We've got some amazing stuff coming, and I am super, super excited. But I hope you all have an amazing week, and remember, it's a good week to be a geek. Take care. See you all soon. Peace.